Good morning. Saturday morning. How are you? I'm Pasta Jardula.
It's afternoon, actually, but yeah.
That was my Nancy Pelosi, and that's Johnny over there, spinning on the ones and twos. Saturday morning, fam.
I know.
You got
weird.
cartoons, you get oatmeal, you get Lucky Charms, and then you get us. Little coffee, little vegan sausage, little potatoes. Guys, thank you very much for joining on in. We can see there's about 36 of you on the YouTubes. How many we got on the Rokfin? That's the question over there. We got a deuce. So we need more for you to go over to the Rokfin. I know we've been kind of crazy talking about a Rokfin here and there, but remember, we were suspended for a week from YouTube. So this is where we seek refuge on the Rokfin, which is content creator friendly.
Mm-hmm.
They take care of their peeps. They don't suppress you. And you can say what you want, do what you want. And the platform's growing. In fact, fam, it's a good MMA platform. And tonight, one of the biggest fights in a long time is happening in the MMA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The champion versus the other champion. Justin Gaethje versus Khabib. Hamedamedov.
Mm-hmm.
Hamedamedov. I think I said it right. He wears the big Russian hat right now. He's from Russia. He's 28-0. He's one of the best takedown artists. And Justin Gaethje, as they call him, Showtime or something like that, because the guy's got hands of stone. He can move around. He can knock you out. He always has some of the most exciting fights. Hello, Independent Left News. So that's going on tonight, and that's pretty much the Rokfin is kind of gleaming and glistening tonight. And a lot of people will be on Rokfin today. So if you get a chance, go over to the YouTubes, over to the Rokfin, hook us up, hang on out. And we got 50 people watching on the YouTube, but only 20 likes. We need some thumbs up, ladies and gentlemen. We need to get involved in that algorithm. So.
Yeah. So I know nothing about MMA, but that sounds. Who is that? The guy that beat the asshole up?
Well, Khabib, Hamedamedov, he beat Conor McGregor last time, not too long ago.
I don't like Conor McGregor.
He was supposed to fight a guy by the name of Tony Ferguson. So Tony Ferguson was one of the top guys. He was going to fight Khabib. Khabib had to stay in Russia with the lockdown with COVID. Khabib actually lost his father, who was a big-time wrestling champion that helped him, who was his coach. It was a really sad story. Tony Ferguson then had to fight the next guy up, this young kid, scrappy kid from Arizona named Justin Gaethje. And Justin Gaethje beat Tony Ferguson, and he beat him pretty bad. So now Khabib is going to fight Justin Gaethje today for the Unify the Belt. Once the belt's unified, then they can go out and fight against Conor. So Conor's in the wings, waiting, yapping, saying all this stuff, and that's what's going on. That's your MMA report here on the Convo Couch. That's the furthest we're going to go. But, you know. All right, so listen, we got 4 people on the Rokfin. Get on over, help us out, Rokfin. And also...
It's Saturday.
Saturday?
People are
Saturday
brunch.
morning.
People
Good morning.
are at brunch. People are sleeping.
Lovely morning.
Yeah, that's...
Let's get to politics. Okay, so we have to do our debate recap. Yesterday we had a crazy day. We went out to some fun things, protests here and there, actual counting facilities, not counting facilities, but sorting facilities for the election. It was kind of eye-opening. It was a crazy day yesterday. Yeah. So we have to do our review and our recap of the debate. Now, we did the debate live over here. I think you guys, we did a little before and after what now. But as it sits for a couple days, I just want to say overall, I think Biden did come out with a little positivity for himself on that. In other words, he passed. Well, you know what I'm saying? He didn't get an A or a B or a C, but he passed.
It was just his better debate. But, I mean, the bar was set really low, so it's not like it was anything life-changing. Of course, all of mainstream media said that he won. Every single mainstream media outlet was like,
he's won. Yeah.
Blah, blah, Biden, da-da-da-da-da, which is completely false. I mean, even in his best performance, Donald Trump still... pummeled him. Donald Trump still controlled the debate. He was still able to maneuver the whole thing. Every single thing that Joe Biden said, he was on the defensive because Donald Trump would bring up the crime bill. Donald Trump would bring up Biden-Obama's immigration. Donald Trump would bring up the Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats' inability to give people direct aid for COVID. I mean, Donald Trump was attacking sometimes from the left, and Joe Biden looked more like a neocon when it came to foreign policy, specifically North Korea. Obviously Trump loses points when he starts going on his whole, the radical socialist Biden and all that bullshit, because we know that Biden is a Republican. So it's ridiculous. I know he's playing to his base, but I actually think if he didn't focus on that, he would get more people. And if he was a little bit more willing to give the American people something and would go over Nancy and be like, well, I'm going to do this. executive order, blah, 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 I think he could actually get more people.
It's funny. I was talking to my mom about this. Oh, I got to send a link to my mom real quick to share it with her. So let me get that going because Mom wants to watch. She's at home. She said, I'm going to do a debate recap. But here's the thing, fam. I think Trump knows, and this is his team as well. He's in WWE. He understands his audience. When he does that radical left and goes after the Antifa and all that other bullshit, for us, we're like, what are you talking about? Biden's a Republican. I think he knows he's not going to get us. So I think he has his base already, and maybe he's trying to get some of those people that he can persuade to say, you know what? Maybe he is right. Maybe socialism does turn to communism. It's bad. Remember, people have empire education set in their bones.
That's fine and all. He could do that. But when he calls somebody like Joe Biden, which you can literally take, if you're criticizing Joe Biden for the crime bill, you're criticizing him for like not being good on immigration. How is he going to be a radical socialist? You're contradicting yourself. So yes, like he can call everybody a socialist, but it's just like a really, really dumb attack. He could still be like, well, radical Bernie, but he can always say, well, Joe Biden's just a bad Republican. I think that would be a better tactic than actually
It'd be a better
doing
tactic
that.
for us, but
not for us.
Yeah.
I still think it would get the independents and those people more than saying, I mean, those people who he could try to expand his base are not going to believe that Joe Biden is a radical socialist. The only people that think that are really people that have been like brainwashed by the mainstream media. It's the same type of brainwashing that happens during Russiagate. It's just like you can call Bernie Sanders a radical socialist and get away with it, but you can't call Joe Biden or Kamala Harris a socialist while you're criticizing them for their crime bill for all this shit. It just doesn't. It's not logical.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It doesn't seem logical to me. But I think it's like, once again, we're talking about mostly a lot of low-informed voters, and I don't mean like dumb, just people who are consumed and not into politics. They take things at a surface level. The empire education is there. So when you use buzzwords like communism, it does play. I don't know what it's going to do, but like, once again, he's not getting us. People like us are not going with Donald Trump. You know, we might not go Joe Biden, and there's a lot of people out there who will bite the bullet and go Joe Biden because they think he's a better choice. I am frightened of Joe Biden and the Democrats, especially right now with the suppression and the censorship and everything they're involved with and stuff. But let's go over a few things right now, because I think a lot of times Trump got cornered Joe Biden into lying, you know, about the whole cutting of Medicare and Medicaid. But the one big one I thought too as well is Trump corners Joe Biden into lying about banning fracking. So here's the tweet real quick. The war room that we put up, and you could see it. So here we go.
Never said I oppose fracking.
You said it on tape.
I did. Show the tape. Put it on your website.
I'll put it on.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
What about, say, stopping fracking and stopping new pipeline infrastructure?
New pipeline, exactly. No new fracking. You got to transition away from it. Look, you're going to ban fracking all across America right now, right?
I would love to.
Yeah, I'd love to too. I'd love to make sure we can't use any oil or gas, period. Look in my eyes. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel. We aren't getting rid of fossil fuels.
All right. I don't think what could be more devastating, fam, than using your own words against you. You know what I'm saying? And this was an area, you know, first of all, when he talks this way, I wish he would stay this way. But as soon as he won the primary, where Bernie, you know, endorsed him and he went over, he started changing his tune. He was trying to, you know, he's trying to get his cake and eat it too. He tried to go to Pennsylvania and Texas. I'm not going to ban fracking. I'm going to let things go. I'm going to let the energy business go. So now you put yourself in a very, very bad position. So your thoughts on that?
He was just doing the Elizabeth Warren thing where he was playing both sides. Yeah. Where he was absolutely like, during the primary, this is what they do. If you haven't figured it out by now, this is what happens during the primary, especially when you have a candidate like Bernie Sanders and a candidate like Tulsi Gabbard, who are a lot more aware of the climate catastrophe. Even Elizabeth Warren went out there with her green bombs. Even every single one of them was like, Green New Deal. Kamala Harris even helped AOC with the whole Green New Deal situation. This is nothing new. They completely go and try to out-left and say, oh, we're all going to support Medicare for all. We're all going to support the Green New Deal. As soon as the primary's over, they're in, bam, they back off every single time. Backed away from Medicare for all. For a moment, Biden even backed away from public option. He's back on the public option train. Backed away from, they were even talking about the student loan forgiveness. Backed away from that. Kind of says that he's going to do something for $10,000 worth of a loan. Now it's the same thing with this. Well, we're going to get the Green New Deal. Now, no, we're never going to ban fracking because that's what they do. They lie. So when you take a politician's words completely 100% as a fact, you're completely being moronic because this is what they do. They lie. So when people are like, well, no, Joe Biden said this, it's like Joe Biden's going to change his tune 5 seconds from now. This is why if Joe Biden gets in, you're not going to push him left because he's already moved to the right since the primary. He's only going to go further right. You guys,
and you've given him your vote. So what's
you've given him everything.
He doesn't have to conform just for you now. And this looks bad because since Donald Trump has taken office, the first executive orders he did was sign for the Dakota Access Pipeline or the Keystone. You know what I'm saying? So he's always been pro-oil, pro-energy, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that Joe Biden's trying to play both sides.
You can't compete with that.
He's just you're going to make yourself look bad, and people are going to be like, all right, this guy's full of shit. Trump, as bad as he is, at least he's sticking to his guns of what he wants to do.
Real quick, I think technically speaking, though, I think they did cut some of those short, and I don't think Biden exactly said I will ban fracking, but he's been implying that he's going to be more green.
Political talk, politician talk.
Right. I would love to ban fracking. That's not the same thing as saying I will ban fracking.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then when he goes and says we will not ban fracking, and the way he says it, you just negate everything else you said too. So it's really
he looks
sucks.
like a complete liar, a hypocrite.
Yeah.
And he literally looks like the representation of the Democratic Party, the emblem of the Democratic Party.
Johnny, go to your Trump retweets Bernie's video criticizing Joe, and then we'll go back to the other one because I think it's on the same kind of avenue because of the other area where Donald Trump said, Joe, you're lying. You've been trying to cut Medicare your whole life, your whole career on the floor. Now you're going to say no? So here it is. Johnny put it in there. Trump retweets Bernie's video. He's using Bernie's video to attack Joe Biden, everybody. You're going to go vote for Joe? He's using Bernie's video right now. Go ahead. For years, Joe Biden
thank you, Bernie.
has fought to cut Social Security and Medicare. Go ahead, buddy.
Joe, you're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never said that.
No. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. Look, here's the deal.
You're an honest guy. Why don't you just tell the truth here? We all make mistakes.
I am telling the truth. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time.
Joe, let me repeat it again. I want you just to be straight with the American people. I am saying that you have been on the floor of the Senate time and time again talking about the need to cut Social Security, Medicare, and veterans programs. Is that true or is that not true?
No, it's not true.
That is not true?
That is not true. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. Everything was on the table. I did not support any of those cuts in Social Security or in veterans benefits.
Whoa. Everything was on the table. All right, you're right. You just said it, including, in your judgment, cuts to Social Security and veterans.
In order to get the kinds of changes we need on other things related.
Joe, then
but we did not cut it.
I know, because people like me helped stop that. All that I would say to the American people, go to YouTube. It's all over the place. Joe said it many, many times. And I'm surprised, you can defend that or change your mind on it, but you can't deny the reality.
All right, fam. Your thoughts on this, because this is, to me, it's just devastating right now. Really, to tell you the truth, like I said, the burners for Biden. Are you serious? Come on, guys.
Bernie Sanders, this is how it would have gone with Bernie, with Trump. He would have just brought everything out. It just makes me sad because this is like, we could have a real debate where we talk about policy and Trump can look like, an asshole next to somebody like Bernie. But next to somebody like Joe Biden, he looks like the righteous one. He looks like the honest one. Yeah. This is what I think. This is what I do. but at least I'm not lying about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Joe Biden looks like a complete and total liar. Yeah, like beyond a hypocrite. He's a complete and total liar. People want to talk about Trump being a pathological liar. Well, there's Joe Biden pathologically lying. And the fact that Donald Trump uses Bernie Sanders's attacks on Joe Biden just kind of makes you think like, what the hell are you doing, Bernie? Like, this is like ridiculous. Like how, like you were attacking Joe Biden on this very same issue. And now Donald Trump gets to attack him from the left. This is how bad the Democrats are. Donald Trump is making swings and jabs from the left. And frankly, I still don't understand why people think that Joe Biden has this in the bag when Donald Trump is literally throwing punches from the left. I mean, even progressives are going to have to be like, okay, yeah.
Joe Biden's a worse candidate than Hillary Clinton at this point, really, too,
absolutely.
with all the, because everything that the Democrats were accusing Trump doing for years about getting money and getting paid by the Russians, they're now proving that with Joe Biden too, and part of that played into this debate. And I think Trump learned something. He didn't necessarily go after Hunter because he doesn't have to anymore. When he goes after Hunter, it looks a little bit weak, but when he goes after, hey, the big guy, and I think you're the big guy, and he talked about that. We'll get into more of that because it's devastating in my mind. These whole things with the polls, first of all. They can tweak these polls. They can use the polls they want. They can give you the results they want. The only polls you should really believe in more than any poll is an exit poll. That's it. That's the most consistent poll in my mind because you can cherry pick these polls all day. But one of the things I'm going to say too, fam, a little bit, I don't think I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Bernie would have been way better than Biden against Trump. I would have liked to see that debate because I would have liked to see the war of ideas where, he goes, if Bernie said, I'm going to push for Medicare for all and I'm going to stop at nothing less than the public option, I would have liked to seen Trump and Bernie go back and forth about it because that's the idea, right? We still talk about this all the time. Oh, socialized medicine. Like, what do you mean socialized medicine? It's the complete
opposite ends of the spectrum. Yes. Whereas, it's with Joe Biden and Trump, you're arguing about who's the better Republican, and Trump's going to win.
Yes, by far.
Being the better Republican every single time.
Exactly.
Every single time.
Yeah.
So,
I would have loved to see that debate. I would have loved to see it on the environment. I would have loved to see it on healthcare. I would have loved to see it on
trade. Would
policy,
have been great
on trade,
because both of them didn't like NAFTA and TPP.
TPP, yeah.
And so that's why Bernie got maligned a lot by the Democrats because the Democrats love that. So it's an interesting thing. It's like when I talk to a hardcore Trump supporter, it's like we will agree on how much we hate Hillary Clinton. We will agree on how much we hate Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and how corrupt the Democrats are, and the censorship. And maybe it's wrong and all this stuff, but we will completely disagree on pretty much everything else. So it's really interesting, I think, those debates with somebody that knows what they're talking about rather than somebody like Joe Biden.
Yeah. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's not Donald Trump who's stopping that battle. It was always the Democrats that wouldn't let Bernie go through to have this debate, to have this war of ideas, to have this chance. You know what I'm saying? And once again, the last election compared to 2016, I liked Bernie way better in 2016.
Yeah.
In 2020, from everybody he picked on his staff by going for Center for American Progress and the Fayez Shakurs and all those other Matt Duss, I believe his name was.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about
Foreign
these donkeys
guy.
in a long time. And now a lot of those guys like Chuck Rocha and who's your boy with the Jeff Weaver and all these guys have PACs now, making money
for Biden.
For Biden.
And they're using people. I haven't even gone into that, but they're using people's likeness, people who worked in the campaign. They're using their photos and they're using the products from the campaign to promote their own crap, and they're selling it. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's terrible. But you know what? Joe is loving and caring, and Trump is a monster. You could see right after Johnny, we have the little tweet I put up real quick. I just want, because this is the only thing they can go to. This is what I saw most of. Look at the difference between the two. The Bidens embrace at the end. The Trumps barely even touch each other. That says it all. What the fuck does that say? Who cares?
They're cold to each other. Who gives a shit about their relationship? I don't give a crap about their marriage. That's irrelevant to me.
And it's a way different relationship. Okay.
Oh, well, yeah.
Trump has his faculties. He knows what he's doing, whether you agree or disagree with not.
I don't know.
Mrs. Biden is a caretaker. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Joe, honey, I'm going to get you cookies and milk in just an hour. Good job.
I think Trump also is losing some of that as well, but I think Joe Biden's definitely far more gone.
That way, a tale of two differences. Really, Joe Biden was sweating in that debate towards the end because of the things that went on. Now, the difference between Trump and Biden, really quick on COVID. I think this is one of the biggest things for me is that they've drawn their line in the sand.
Yeah.
Trump is going to be, it's about the economic solutions. Ladies and gentlemen.
We got to reopen.
We can't stay in the basement, Joe, like you can. They got to get out there and work.
That was another jab.
Another great jab. He got him, whatnot. But, that was the differences. And mainstream media is really trying to make this it's about the COVID. It's about the COVID. It's about the COVID.
The mask.
They got the clock. They got the mask. Trump is so stupid. He said, don't wear the mask. But a lot of people aren't really taking that in as much as they are taking the economic issues in, I think. Right. They're going like, how am I going to put food on the table? Where am I going to live? How am I going to pay the rent? And Donald Trump has taken that position like, I'm going to have to fix this economically. We've got the greatest economy in the world, which is bullshit. I don't even want to get into that. Yeah. It might have helped for people in the stock market and people, small businesses. He might have helped out a little bit. But he didn't help the poor people on the streets. He didn't get people off the streets. He didn't cause the problem. I'm not going to put him on him. But it's not the greatest economy when you have 600,000 homeless people on the street. No. And that's the argument, this whole argument that we can get into. But when it comes to the COVID, Trump drew the line in the sand. It's like, I'm about the economics. You don't care. You're going to give a mask mandate. You're going to close down the state with you and your Democratic governors, and you're going to kill people. And the recovery is going to be worse than the disease itself.
And he named
California.
And he named California as one of the worst, which he was right. I mean, I had to agree with him. The way Gavin Newsom's handled California is absolutely stupid. The fact that gyms aren't fully not open at all, the nail salons took forever. All those people are not happy with Gavin Newsom or Democrats. A lot of those people are going to end up voting Republican just because of how Gavin Newsom handled it. And that's the thing. It's like, it's all one or the other. With Trump, it's like, forget safety and let's reopen schools. Let's do this. With Joe Biden, it's like, no, we got to close everything down. Mask mandates. It's like, no, you guys, like, there's got to be somewhere where you address both. They're just being extremely polarizing in their handling of that situation.
But I think the everyday people are going to matriculate more towards the economic reasons.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're going to feel like it's the whole thing with, we have to lock everything down with Gavin Newsom, with the hair gate, salon gate with Nancy Pelosi. It's like people are suffering out there. They don't know what they're going to do, where they're going to go from here. And, they're like, some people are tired of hearing about the mask and the disease. They don't know a lot of people
because
who died. And,
less than 2% of the people have died, and so they don't really see the immediate threat, whereas like the threat of like not having a job, not having a roof over your head, not having any health care insurance. Like, you guys talk about safety, Democrats. Well, give me health care at least during the pandemic. You won't do it. So it's kind of like, people are definitely going to pay more attention to the economic pressing issue, especially because there's talk of shutting down again, especially during the winter when this comes back. Add the flu, add all these things to that. Other countries are already shutting down, and people are protesting in other countries. Like, people were protesting this morning in the UK. Well, way earlier for now, but they were protesting earlier today about the extension of because they're trying to lock down again. They're trying to lock down in other states here too. So this is going to keep happening over and over again. And if you're not giving people money to stay at home, then they're not going to stay at home.
Fam, Halloween is canceled, says Gavin Newsom.
Halloween is not canceled.
Okay. Let me tell you something. I saw some pictures in New York where they showed up. There was a bunch of Hasidic Jewish people in a house having a get-together and whatnot, and the cops showed up and like, you got more than 10 people here, and was about to start doing some shit. That's going to happen on Halloween. I guarantee you. Watch it. Some people are going to call the cops, and here comes Villanueva and his goons, or the LA Police Department and their goons, breaking up Halloween parties. Watch. Just mark my words, because they don't give a damn. And they're politicizing this thing. It's oh my God, what are you doing? And people who are like, stay at home, wear the mask. People who are financially okay that don't have to worry about where they're going to, you know what I'm saying? They don't care, and they want you to stay at home.
Like actors in their mansions are like, stay at home, wear a mask.
Yeah, shut the F up.
Like,
the climate change thing we talked about.
Yeah.
He did get a little bit more pro-friendly to the environment in this particular debate.
Trump?
No, Biden did.
Okay.
So he did move a little bit, because then Trump kind of courted him. You're going to lose the energy. He's Pennsylvania, Texas. I hope you hear what he's saying, because he said something before. We played the fracking video, so I don't want to go over that, but there was a difference right there. Trump did say he called out Pennsylvania and Texas.
Well, because Pennsylvania is a swing state.
And yes, and now the Democrats are trying to say Texas is a swing state.
Texas is going to go red, you guys.
Please. Criminal justice, once again, Biden gets butchered here. He gets tortured. You did the 1990, and he goes like this to shut the moderator up. 1994 crime bill. And Joe, it was awful. You did nothing for black people. I'm the least racist guy on the stage. I'm the least racist.
I'm the best. I think I was the best thing for black people since Abraham Lincoln. Niko was laughing about that because I wanted to hear his perspective. Like, no, you're not, Donald Trump. But it's just like, he's funny. It's funny because it's ridiculous. You know, it's not like I love Donald Trump. It's just hilarious to me that Joe Biden lets him get away with this, that the Democrats have literally let this happen.
They don't let him get away with it. They put forth the person who wrote the most racist bill in a long time in the 1994 crime bill. That's who you're putting for him. How are you going to do that?
They selected Joe Biden.
They did. They didn't elect him. They selected him. Trust me, these elections were not fair. The primaries were not fair. We never had an autopsy. I don't want to get into that, whatnot. And then Donald Trump goes, we got criminal justice reform. And he's got the first step back where you got Van Jones bragging about it when Kushner went to it. Now, I'm not going to say you're going to put it all on him, but if you just look at the two and you go Joe Biden, Donald Trump on policy, one's got the 1994 crime bill, which he authored, fam. And the other one got to sign the first step back. One is better, way better than the other. So on criminal justice, it's just amazing that the Democrats looking worse than the Republican on criminal justice.
And it's just like, obviously Donald Trump hasn't done very much for minorities because he hasn't done very much for the economy because poor people are still poor, and the vast majority of poor people are also included, you know, people of color, and that the whole thing with the police, the whole thing, all of this stuff. You can't say that Trump has done a lot more, but he can take that piece of legislation, he can say that and wave it in front of the Democrats. And what does Joe Biden have? He has Kamala Harris, top cop prosecutor, as his VP. So he can't even one up that, right? He can't do any of that. He can't.
He's getting attacked from the left. From Jesus,
it's disgusting.
Yeah. Healthcare was another one too, fam. I said before the debate, listen, Joe has to lie a little bit. He's got to talk about things that he'll never get done, that we know he'll never get done, but sit there and throw it out there. You know, I said, maybe we should have a ban on fracking. He kind of had that conversation. We got to transition off of fossil fuels. And in healthcare, Joe Biden, after 47 years, is now for the public option.
Yeah.
All it takes is one debate right before an election.
Yeah, he's lying.
Joe is for the public option.
And people are like, well, Joe's for a public. He's lying, you guys. He's lying through his teeth, and you know it, and I know it, because guess what? He's taking the money. He's still taking that for-profit insurance money. He talks about healthcare people should have access to healthcare. It should be a right. With the same breath, he wants to keep the big insurance controlling it, because a public option, don't let it get twisted. He's talking about maintaining the ACA and expanding it, which basically means it's gonna be the ACA, and maybe you'll get a cheaper version of that. Yeah. But it's not gonna be an actual public option.
You'll never
definitely
get the public
not gonna
option
be
with
Medicare for all. Yeah. You're not gonna get it. He's lying through his teeth, but he's gone back and forth on it. We know where Donald Trump stands. No plan on Medicare for all. This was an opportunity for Joe Biden to really, really like beat Donald Trump on this, because this is one of Donald Trump's weaknesses. Like, he's awful on healthcare. He has zero plan on healthcare. But he did it. Instead, it's like, okay, an improvement on public option, but it's right before the elections. He could have done this a long time ago, and he did it. And so now it looks like
he's trying to get votes. He's fishing for votes.
Are we going to believe him or not?
Yeah.
No.
This is the public option too as well. And we should have got the public option with the ACA. But we should have got it with the ACA when they had it. This is what Dennis Kucinich was stomping his feet about. Barack Obama had to take him on Air Force One for a ride to say, "Hey, man, you got to come along." He never went along. He put a line in the sand and said, "You will give us at least a public option." This is where I wish Bernie would have kind of went on the whole thing back then. He wasn't as popular back then. Bernie, I think, wanted to get something, but if we were able to get the public option, it's a great, I think, compromise point where we can say, okay, we have some form. You can go and you can get the public option to get into a universal health care plan, you know what I'm saying, and eventually work our way to it if it's run successfully.
I just don't think it would ever run successfully, because you're still going to have the insurance in there. So it would actually diminish the possibility of getting Medicare for all. And I think a lot of my progressive friends would agree on that. It's kind of hard to say that I wouldn't want a public option, at least because we're in the middle of a pandemic. It at the very least would be an immediate help. But I think in the long run, it would actually, because it wouldn't work here, I think it would just like...
Well, it'd have to be at the start of a progressive president's term where he hits you, gets you quickly, the first bill, get in the public action. Now he's got 3.5 years to make sure that it runs well. You know what I'm saying? To put the best people in there to make sure it runs well. So then he gets reelected again. Now you got like 6 years of a good public option that worked well, because you have a progressive leader who's going to put it in play. The next push can be, let's get the whole thing.
Well, we're not even going to get into that.
Let's not get into it. But I mean, but Joe Biden did kind of throw that out there. That's the whole thing out of the blue. Like, oh my God.
That's like his little scrap to the Bernie/progressive. Like, oh, vote for me, you guys. Like, that's the most he's gonna give.
Okay, so it's John Ward Jr. It's John again, and I'm still waiting. I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there in front. The phone number is right there. Come about election integrity or bust. What's that? We're going to keep going. John, we got you. I'll give you a call. There's almost 471 people watching. Guys, get over to this Rokfin over there, Rokfin. Johnny, you got anything else to say about the debate? I mean, at the end of the day, who won, who lost? What's your analysis, Johnny Sue?
Oh, yeah, they just both suck. I mean, those are choices. I mean, we can laugh at how funny Trump is and all that, but, you know, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, you know, he's said some bad shit. Some really bad shit. The rhetoric is important. Biden sucks. Biden stole the primary. It should be Bernie. And Bernie would be killing it on stage with Trump, I feel like. But he's a failed politician, failed leader, just like he failed his movement, you know?
He didn't have the political will?
That's how, I don't know if it's political will. I feel like.
Threatened?
I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? You know, Trump did make a comment, though. Like, he didn't go after Hunter in this debate, and this will lead us to our next subject, because about an hour before the debate, there was a press conference, and Trump stayed away from Hunter this time, but he was able to go to Joe now because there's been some connections. The financial lines are being shown to us in plain sight via WhatsApp, Twitter. They're putting them out there right now. And he said the big guy. The big guy, which is a reference to this money that's been going out there, supposedly.
The email where it said the big guy.
The big guy. 10% off the top goes to the big guy. And that is supposedly Joe Biden. And this, to me, was devastating because it was 90 minutes before the debate. Hunter Biden's old business partner came, Mr. Bobolinsky, and he had a little bit of a press conference to explain what had happened in China with his dealings.
Yep.
It says, in shock, Hunter's ex-biz partner says turning over all the evidence to the FBI. There's a little film in here. There's a little clip of the breakdown of the right here. We'll start to play it, and I'll tell you where to stop. We're going to just do a little bit in the beginning. So you can probably go the first 10 seconds in to get them started.
My name is Tony Bobolinsky. I served as a lieutenant in the United States Navy with high security clearance. My father and grandfather both served for decades in our country's armed forces. Since leaving the Navy, I've been involved in various successful businesses, both in this country and abroad. I'm making this statement to set the record straight about the involvement of the Biden family, Vice President Biden, his brother Jim Biden, and his son Hunter Biden, in dealings with the Chinese. I've heard Joe Biden say that he's never discussed business with Hunter. That is false. I have firsthand knowledge about this because I directly dealt with the Biden family, including Joe Biden. I have also heard that Vice President Biden said on Tuesday that Senator Ron Johnson, the chair of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, should be ashamed for suggesting that Biden family sought to profit from their name. Well, here are the facts I know, and everything I'm saying is corroborated by emails, WhatsApp chats, agreements, documents, and other evidence. And the American people can judge for themselves. I brought, I guess, for record, 3 phones that spanned the years 2015 through 2018. These phones have never been held by anybody else besides myself. I was told this past Sunday by somebody who was also involved in this matter that if I went public this information, it would bury all of us, man. The Bidens included. I have no wish to bury anyone. I've never been political. The few contributions I have made have been to Democrats. But what I am is a patriot and a veteran. To protect my family name and my business reputation, I need to ensure that the true facts are out there. In late 2015, I was approached by James Gillier, whom I had known for many years, about joining him in a deal which he said would involve the Chinese state-owned enterprise CEFC China, Energy, and what he called one of the most prominent families in the United States. I was informed first by Gillier, and then by Hunter Biden, and by Rob Walker, who was working with the Bidens, that the Bidens wanted to form a new entity with CFC, which was to invest in infrastructure, real estate, and technology in the U.S. and around the world. And the entity would initially be capitalized with $10 million and then grow to billions of dollars of investment capital. After months of discussion, I agreed at Gillier and Hunter Biden's request to become CEO of the entity to be called Sinohawk. Sino representing the Chinese side, Hawk representing Hunter Biden's brother Beau's favorite animal. And between February and May 2017, we exchanged numerous emails, documents, and WhatsApp messages concerning Sinohawk and its potential business. On May 2nd, 2017, the night before Joe Biden was to appear at the Milken Conference, I was introduced to Joe Biden by Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. At my approximately hour-long meeting with Joe that night, we discussed the Biden's history, the Biden's family business plans with the Chinese, with which he was plainly familiar, at least at a high level.
All right, stop it right there real quick. Okay, guys, I wanted to stop it right there because what he said right there, that last sentence was the bomb drop right there. Okay. Now we have not just WhatsApp app and emails and text messages. Now we have a witness sitting in a room who hears from Joe Biden out of his mouth that he understands what's going on at a high level. Yeah. What's the business deals are all about. As we go further in this particular press conference, he'll eventually say how the money was appropriated. Like Hunter pretty much pulled a wise guy move and said, 10 goes to the top, to the big man, right off the top, and I'm taking this money for myself over here.
They were in Miami, and he made the deal juicier.
Exactly. And he had said to Bobulinski, this is Hunter Biden, that they're in this business because they want influence with my dad and whatnot. They're investing in the Bidens, which brings out this whole situation where a lot of people I know were saying that the Chinese have a lot of influence in our government. And I was always like, guys, the Chinese, there's no Chinese lobbyists. I mean, yeah, people, Congress members have taken advantage of NAFTA by investing in other businesses to go overseas where they can make money, inflate the stock market. But there's no lobby in there kind of buying influence like AIPAC or the Saudi Arabian lobbyist. But now right here, I think I'm getting proven wrong right here with this going on, because what were the Chinese trying to do, funneling all this money to the Bidens?
They were also, but the people that were involved in this were Hong Kong related too. Like if you read the emails, they were involved in businesses in Hong Kong. So that actually plays into the fact that, okay, now there's these business dealings with Hong Kong. Well, what have we done? We've supported a sort of uprising, right, of Hong Kong. Our government is supporting the uprising of Hong Kong. We've seen the Hong Kong protests. And that's how you know that there's something shady in that, because we've also seen the money for the NEDs and all of this thing. So that's part of it. And also the $1 million retainer pasta that was there, that's blatant money. And also the fact that the credit cards, there was a credit card that was used to go to a Mac store, to go to restaurants, to go shopping with this money. Yeah. So they were actually using money. They were actually making money off of this, and they were using that money and spending it. So if you want to talk about collusion and you want to talk about dealings with foreign countries, this very well falls into it. And it just makes, once again, the Democrats look like hypocrites, because they try to do the whole Russian collusion and Putin and Trump. And they talk about how Trump and his dealings. But it's like, well, there you go. You guys are two sides of the same coin.
Well, I mean, I don't even know if you can say they're two sides of the same coin, because for 4 years almost, this Russiagate thing never proved anything that Donald Trump had these hardcore ties to that government, to that state. You know, businesses everywhere. That's one thing. But this is money that's being funneled through the Chinese government into these subsidiaries, and then eventually going to the Bidens, and we're talking 5 millions. So
money laundering.
They're buying influence of sorts, right? Okay, so there's a lot of people talking. You hear people who understand this. So like, what's going to happen? The Chinese really want Joe Biden to be the president, and Joe Biden talk with China. But if he does become president, then they move their influence out of the South China Sea, they say, so that Xi Jinping and he can do whatever he wants over there. This is a cluster F.
What?
That's what they're saying. They're saying that if Biden becomes president, he has influence bought by the Chinese now, that the U.S. will remove their presence from the South China Sea, that all the talk he's been doing is just talk for the public, but yet the Chinese have him in the pocket. In other words, they're saying that Russia wants Trump to be president, and now China wants Biden to be president and stuff. But the money lines are there now. I think with the Chinese.
Yeah, but I think I disagree with that. I think the money lines are there with the Chinese pro democracy groups, pro overthrowing the Chinese communist government, rather than the money lines are there with actual Chinese investors.
No. It's there. All these companies that he got this money from,
but a lot of
they're
these
state-funded Chinese companies. You can't get away from that. The state-funded Chinese. There's a tree up there right now. So this is money coming through the Chinese government, eventually funneled down into Joe Biden's pockets, and it's hard to get away from that, fam, because it's there. That's where this money's coming from.
There's politics, too, involved in this. Like I said, there are connections to Hong Kong with these Chinese people, like direct connections. So, I think we're going to see that come out and develop. I don't buy that. I don't think they want Biden to be president. I frankly don't think they care who's president because at the end of the day, both sides really see China as the enemy. And that's the bottom line. Both Democrats and Republicans see them as the enemy. They both support the Hong Kong protests. They both support getting rid of the Communist Party. China is lifting people out of poverty. Yes, they have censorship, but look at what we're doing right now. A lot. I mean, their middle class is going up. Our middle class is almost non-existent. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't think.
I think China knows that we're in a free for all. We're in a downfall, and at the end of the day, they just know we're gonna eventually cave on in to what's going on in our country when you have a person like Trump get in there. But like I said, with this here right here, these money lines are gonna be really hard to look away from right now. It's almost like his rhetoric of, it's the Chinese fault. It's the Chinese fault. And now you see this stuff right here.
So it's just this guy who talked, because I don't know. I haven't seen any of the documents. He didn't show any of the documents.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, they haven't been released yet. So I mean,
look at the documents.
They haven't been released because something went. This is this guy just talking right now.
Yeah.
And then he was going to the Senate to show it to them, I think.
Well, the documents are a lot of the documents that he was referring to are in the New York Post article that posted them. You could see the retainer. You can see the emails that he sent where he was talking about the $10 million and then the Chinese deal. If you go to the New York Post article, it's all there. They actually have the documents that they put out there. So you can go check those out. I actually did a video on that.
Put that. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I did a video on that. You guys can watch it. I literally go through every single document thing. And
this is more about the witness himself.
This is more about the witness.
He's like, I was in the room with Biden. He knows what's going on. The money was sent to him. So that's a little bit more damning right now with Bobulinski's coming forth in this here.
It's just an added thing that they can go after. It just shows the hypocrisy again of the Democratic Party more than anything to me. I don't really think that. I mean, I think this happens all the time with a lot of politicians, is what I'm saying. I just think it just shows the hypocrisy when they're talking about Donald Trump.
I feel like, why aren't there the bombshells for all the billionaires and stuff that, fund Biden's campaign also, like those are, we've got access to those, and open secrets and shit, like, you know what I'm saying?
Because it's a foreign entity. And so this is what they're using. So the Democrats love talking about collusion and foreign influence and all of this crap. So this is big for that reason.
The right are making it seem like, this is like, Joe Biden's a communist, and this is why he's
Well, yeah, that's their angle.
And the whole thing is that they spent 4 years trying to say that Trump was being influenced by the Russians, and they couldn't find anything or come up with anything.
It's just another political.
You know what I'm saying?
Gag.
Now you're saying this is the opposite. This is exactly what you're accusing Donald Trump of doing all these years.
Right.
Joe Biden's been doing with the Chinese, and that's the way it's going to play out.
It's not like a bombshell, but it is something that I think they can tie the hypocrisy again to of the Democrats. And this happens all the time. This is nothing crazy.
It should be a bombshell because Joe Biden was doing this shit. He's also had influence in Ukraine to change that government.
Ukraine was much worse to me.
Yeah. To me, it was because it was an actual regime change and people died on the Maidan. You know what I'm saying?
Like you got Joe Biden talking about it himself out of his own mouth. That's huge.
Well, you got that in the Ukraine. He incriminated himself. Now Bobulinski saying he's in a room with him. It's like, what is this guy doing? He's going around from government government to government, making money and carpet bagging up.
But he's
people's
hardly
misery.
the only one. That's the thing. He's hardly the only one. They all do this. But you have to realize that anything that they have, they're going to use right now because of the election year. We talked about it too in our video. We said that you said that yourself. You were like, they're going to, or is he going to use it now? Blah, blah, blah. Is he going to wait till the election? Like, this is not surprising that they're going to use this. Why are they waiting right now? Because it's an election. Of course, they're going to weaponize this and push their own angle to it. That doesn't mean that this didn't happen, though. The angle that the right is going to take is going to be the angle that they're going to take. That doesn't mean that the dealings didn't happen, though.
Yeah, I mean, these are devastating to me, too, as well. These are pretty bad. None of your business says, Bernie said lower SOC age. What is SOC? To birth?
Social Security?
I don't know. Public option, DON.
Not sure.
So that's what the message says. All right. Well, that says that. Okay. We don't necessarily have to go through the rest of the video right now. Let's just get on to the other topic because it also does tie into as well because Ghislaine Maxwell, the other day, now what started to happen is she had a deposition a couple years ago on a civil case from Virginia Gaffrey.
Yep.
And she thought that was going to be sealed because it was a civil case and that she had protections, whatnot. Unfortunately for her, they released a redacted version of this deposition, and it was pretty rough because it did explain some things. It did open up some things. You obviously see that there's something going on, and we're saying once again to get a lot of decisions done. How many people were blackmailed? How many politicians were blackmailed? People up apart. You know what I'm saying? Epstein was part of that whole kind of like let's get people on tape, massages, the whole 9 yards, and let's blackmail people. Epstein and Bill Clinton flew together. Maxwell confirms in a newly released deposition. There it is right now. It was in the Epic Times, but every single time I clicked onto the Epic Times, it was blocking me from going up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it wasn't letting me look at it, but here it is. So it gets that going, Johnny. I couldn't get that out of there. But anyways, what I wanted to do, there's a Exhibit 6, which is a 400-page plus documentation. It was released, the deposition. We'll put that in the chat because I don't want to go through it. It's really big. What I did is I went to Technofog, which is one of the best Twitter sites if you want to go to. And there's a good thread, and Technofog kind of took out the good juicy points. I went over them, and I looked at them. I can't pull it up. What's with my computer right now? But let's go to the Technofog Twitter, Johnny. I might have to read it off there. Because the Technofog Twitter does have some really good stuff right here. We have Ghislaine Maxwell's unsealed deposition. Question here, did you invite Virginia Gaffrey to Epstein's house?
She denied it.
She came as a masseuse. I can't read that from here. It's too dark for me and stuff. I'm not asking the question. I can't even read it. It's too dark for me. But pretty much, once again, what Ghislaine Maxwell did in this deposition was she danced around a lot of things. She talked like a politician. She didn't necessarily admit the truth. But she did kind of insinuate, and she says, again, I repeat, she came as a masseuse. It's not coming up. It's weird right now. Let's get on this thread, though, Johnny, because this thread does have a lot of good stuff. Which one was this one here? Okay. Did the massage therapist perform sexual acts with Jeffrey Epstein? I don't know what you mean by sexual acts.
Right.
Did she touch his penis? That's what I mean by sexual acts and whatnot. The other one, does Jeffrey Epstein like to have his nipples pinched during sexual encounters? I'm not talking about any sexual things when I was with him. So, once again, here comes the lawyer. He hears that, Virginia says, Jeffrey loves to get his nipples pinched when he's getting stuff done. So they're trying to pull this out. Maxwell was asked if a 17-year-old minor, Virginia Gaffrey, stayed at Maxwell's house in London. I cannot remember. Did you know she was 17 at the time of the trip? I didn't even know who she was on the trip. Kind of bullshitting. Yep. What now? What not? Tearing apart this deposition right here. And you could see there's some blackness, there's redacted names. Maxwell was asked about flying on Epstein's plane with a 17-year-old. How would I know that she was 17? She's shown on the flight logs saying Epstein GM and the minor Virginia Maxwell. How do you know the GM is me? So once again, we see on these flight logs, we see initials. There was GM a lot of time, meaning Ghislaine Maxwell. So now she's dancing around. How do you know it's me? How do you know it's me? I don't. Maybe it's not me. Like she's just being broad and vague. She was grilled pretty hard by this lawyer, so it's good right there. They also redacted names so you don't know who it is. Here's the next one. Okay. Remember those reports about Epstein being in possession of CDs and a lock safe and a number of tapes? Maxwell admitted to recording massages. Johnny, you got to read this one because I can't see it, whatnot. But this is really awesome here, fam. Look what she says. Can you read it?
It says, did you record messages at the house?
Massages.
No, it says messages.
Spell it.
Messages.
Go ahead.
So he asked, did you record messages at the house? It's not my job. You did from time to time record messages? Hardly ever.
Yes. So they're talking about people on the phone recording stuff. She said hardly ever, right? So meaning that they've recorded people to keep to put them in compromising positions.
Right.
She said hardly ever. But she still admitted that they do this.
Oh, yeah, that's weird. Yeah, this tweet says massages, but then if you look at the text, it says messages.
I think it's a mistake. I think it's massages that they recorded. But also, too, that they were recording messages from people so they confirm, like, we have you on video, we have you on audio, we have you on everything.
Well, I'm showing you what the document said. This is the document.
The next one?
So Technofog was wrong there. I don't see it. Next one on.
Okay, so here's another one.
So it says Maxwell was taking messages for girls who would call Epstein's house. One girl was 15.
Yeah, I don't know who she is. Your name is on the message. So you're like, you're there. You recorded you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Pretty much they just tried to corner Ghislaine Maxwell in every step of the way. There was another one.
But she didn't let them catch her. She just.
Not as much.
Not as much.
Not as much.
Yeah.
Hardly ever, she said, whatnot. She kind of implied stuff. There was enough. There was also questions that when, right here, the one right below it says Maxwell denies knowledge of how Epstein made his money. Right there. So this is a big one. Are you familiar with the Ghislaine Maxwell company? I never heard of that. So, you know, he was using all these other business names, these entities to stash his money. There was also a time, and once again, the redacted names, we don't know exactly who. There was a lot of times talking about the Clintons in these documents over here. There was a lot of depositions going on. So,
but she denied Bill Clinton, period, being on the island, ever being on the island.
Yes, on the island.
Flat out denied that he was on the island. She also flat out denied that Virginia Giuffre was at her house ever, and she had nothing to say about the picture that was obviously there with Prince Andrew. And that she took that infamous picture with her and him and the hug. And she completely denied it. So she looks like a complete liar because you can't. She's like, well, I don't know if it's a real picture. And that, to me, was one of the most important things out of this whole thing, because it's like, well, what do you mean, Ghislaine? Like, it's right there. There's a freaking picture.
She danced around this whole thing. There was even a time when they asked, did Jeffrey Epstein ever told you he worked for the United States government? She's like, he never told that. He never mentioned that. Or she said, I don't recall that. You know what I'm saying? She danced around a lot of these questions. You know, once again, a lot of people didn't expect Donald Trump to be in office. They thought that Hillary Clinton would be, and there'd be a lot of protection from this stuff. So,
nope.
that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And Mueller, who was part of the FBI for many years, protected Jeffrey Epstein, had all this information, all these cases handed to him, and just kind of ignored it and moved away from it. But you can go through this whole deposition. It's we can put the exhibit in the chat. You can look at the whole thing if you want. There's a lot. It's like 400 pages right here. You can go through it and see the parts that are juicy to you, the parts you like. It's interesting. But once again, Ghislaine Maxwell thought that this would never see the day, the light of day. Thank you so much. The light of day. They thought that this was a civil case. It would be buried. It wouldn't come to information. But the judge says, nope, they deserve to see this. So we're going to put it through. They did redact it and put some names and dark them out so you don't know exactly what. There's certain times when you're saying, is it Bill Clinton? Is it not Bill Clinton? There's also two girls in this, supposedly throughout this deposition, that want to remain silent. You know what I'm saying? That don't want their name to be anonymous. They don't want to be shown or be seen, so there are other names redacted. You have to think, you know, it was a Jane Doe 1 and a Jane Doe 2, I think, and so we don't know who they're talking about a lot of times when we see the redacted names. But it's in there. It's pretty juicy. We got this information. We weren't thinking we would get it, so Now more trouble for the Clintons and the Democrats as they come along, because that's what they're trying to pin this on right here. They're trying to pin this directly on the Clinton clan.
Who is trying to pin this directly on the Clinton clan?
I think...
Because I don't think Ghislaine is. Ghislaine has like...
Not Ghislaine. No, I'm talking about... this information's coming out right now with the election around. I think there are some pushes in the Justice Department saying, get this out there now, get this out there now. You know what I'm saying? This is out of the blue. You know, Ghislaine Maxwell coming into custody out of the blue. So I think there are some people in the Justice Department that are maybe Trump loyalists of sorts. I don't know. Who knows? But that's kind of pushing it to make the Clintons look bad. Maybe we find out the real truth later. Who knows? Everything's in the dark here. We don't know. But it was kind of cool that this got released. And it's kind of interesting that we see this now when we thought that we'd never get a chance to see this because it was a civil matter. But hey, we got it. So
yeah, I think it's interesting that she vehemently denied Bill Clinton's presence there. To me, that just shows a sort of like no, like let's not go after them, coming from her. And I tend to wonder why. What are the political ties? What has she been threatened by? Like what is the actual reason? She doesn't have a reason necessarily to protect a politician. I mean, they did this all in an effort to blackmail people to be able to have control over them. So the fact that she is protecting him, because we know his name was on the log multiple times, over 20 times, over 27 times, I think. And so it's like, why is she pretending that this didn't happen? Why is she denying a picture? Is this about incriminating herself, or does this go a little bit further than incriminating herself? Maybe if she incriminates other people, that's a no-no. Big people like the Clintons. Who knows? Obviously, this is, Donald Trump isn't clean in this either, but he's definitely not as far as involved as Bill Clinton.
I think a lot of people, there was a lot of people holding their breath saying, how was Trump involved in this particular deposition? And,
not in this deposition.
Not in this deposition. So we'll see. We'll move forward with it, and we'll keep an eye on it. It's kind of interesting. I don't want us to go to sleep on the whole Ghislaine Jeffrey Epstein situation. We have to keep an eye on what's going on with that. Remember, there were children involved. This is pedophilia, and it needs to be dealt with. So I hope we get some clarification, and some people go to jail. Whoever's guilty, whoever's the guiltiest. Really, whoever committed the most atrocities right now, and they get locked up, because it is kind of disgusting.
Well, she denied having anything to do with any child trafficking or any of that, which the evidence says otherwise, Ghislaine. So it's kind of like,
well, one of the arguments was that this deposition shouldn't be released until after the criminal case, because this is going to slant people's opinions about her, and she'll never get a fair case. She'll never get a fair jury. So that's what the lawyer was arguing. Like, we can't release this now. She don't have a fair chance to defend herself come July 2021 when the case is set, the criminal case is set. So we will see. But they released it anyways. So they're like, sorry, you know what I'm saying? And,
well, it's two separate cases. So that's...
It is. But once again, this could have a factor on trying to get a fair jury, is what they're saying. And it's going to... How can she ever get a fair jury right now if we put this out there?
Yeah, but how can anybody ever get a fair jury if they did what they did? So, I mean, I think the information to the public is obviously more important than...
Yeah, well, it's out there, so interesting. We'll see what happens. Johnny, got anything else to say about this? All right, so that's 60 Minutes today, guys. Thank you so much. Saturday morning. Beautiful Saturday morning. Go over to the Rokfin, Rokfin. We have almost 600 people on the YouTube. That's great. We might have to show up on Saturdays more often if you guys are going to be here like this.
Yeah. It's brunch with the fam.
Brunch with the fam. Joe is a fracking liar, says the Falcon guy. So thank you so much. He is a fracking liar. Stuff on the boards. We have a Patreon. You know about Patreon. If you want to be one of our Patreons, we have 120 for you guys. We can't thank you enough. It's growing. We love you there.
I sent you guys a video.
So go over there and join up for the Patreon. If you can give $1 or $2, a couple bucks. If not, we have a direct PayPal. You can send us a few bucks too as well. We're trying to do what we can do to get out there, and as much help as you can give us, we'll use it to hit the streets, boots on the ground style. You know how we do it. We'll have some more interesting videos to release coming up in the next couple days, including the ballot processing place that me and Johnny got to go check out really early in the morning. It was very, very interesting what's going on, the whole operations. Johnny, do you have anything to say about that right off the bat? Did we get the answers we want to get, or?
Right, yeah. So me and Pastor went yesterday to the vote-by-mail operation there in the morning.
Processing facility.
It was right? They called it operation on the phone, and then it was just a processing facility. Basically, we're gonna post a video about it, but basically, they open up the ballots from the mail-ins envelopes, check the signatures, see if there's messed up dots or whatever, and then they ship them off to the tally system place, which is in Downey.
Yep.
And the vote by mail facility was in Pomona, which is on the outskirts of LA County.
About an hour away.
About an hour
by
away.
By car.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And yeah, I mean, that looked all clean and kosher. I mean, the only thing was the driving situation, which Pasto raises great concerns and questions about, is that we don't know when they're transporting those mail-in ballots, from the P.O. box they get sent to then that facility, and then from that facility to then Downey. There's no tracking or anything of the they use what's it called? What's it called?
The rider
budget
trucks. Budget trucks.
They use budget trucks.
Just they didn't have the answers either, right, Johnny? They didn't have the answers to those questions that we wanted.
I mean,
and we show a piece of paper that says it leaves on this date, but no time when it arrives.
Right.
And they're like, well, they have this seal here, and that's the security, and it has to show up with that seal.
There's a sticker on these boxes when they send them out to
but
the
it's not like
system.
a tracking number.
No.
There's no. I mean, you could change an entire box. I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you could.
And this, I didn't put it up there because this is brand new, but there was a ballots that were burned. That somebody burned a bunch of mail-in ballots, and now they're having to resend. This happened here. They're having to resend those people new ballots, but it's like they suspect arson. They suspect this. They're like, and the media is trying to say, oh, look what the Republicans did. Republicans aren't going to try to win California. It would be a waste of their effort to cheat in California. Think about it. Like, California is as blue as it gets. It's pretty secure. I don't see that going red for a long time unless we go really, really, really like to the right. It just doesn't make sense that a Republican would do that. What makes more sense to me is that trying to blame people kind of playing into that, or maybe it was a bunch of ballots that were for Trump. Who knows? Yeah. But it was in a community though of people of color, so that's why they're using that narrative. I think both of them are going to cheat depending on where they are. Yeah. So
they are both going to cheat.
In California though, I do not buy that Republicans are going to try to cheat unless it's like a joke or something. I mean, this is like
they did put up their own drop boxes saying, well, this is with a
they did that.
If harvesting is allowed, then we're allowed to put up our own drop boxes
and it
if
says
we have
official,
permission from the
but it's not.
But it's not. It's not official, but they said it's legal as long as they have permission to put the box there, that they're allowed to go and collect other ballots because ballot harvesting is legal. So, and I asked the guy, I said, well, how much of the ballots that are coming into the facility are from the P.O. box, from the mail place, and how much are from the drop boxes? And they said more from the P.O. boxes are coming in from the mail. However, they've processed over 1 million ballots. See, fam, they make it seem logical and it's fair and it's what's not, and they're validating the signatures.
That's what they always do.
But, for me, you know how I feel about the mail-in system. The mail-in system should be done in only certain situations. And I understand the COVID right now makes it different. Right. But the mail-in situation for me, and this also leads to the fact that, we have to fix the elections on the front end.
Right. For me, it's like the mail-in system is not secure, but but that's a symptom of the bigger problem, which is our elections aren't secure. We should be able to use a mail system and feel comfortable, but we're not there yet because of the systemic issue with our electoral system.
Yeah. There's just more chance for corruption and fugaziness when you can't track where the ballot's coming from, where it's going, where it's leading and stuff. It's like when you went to Nevada. It's very hard to cheat when everybody's there and all the voting's done in front of you. Now you've got
paper ballots.
But even still, you have a situation where it's in front of you. It's being done right there where there are witnesses. That's what I want to be done when it comes to voting. You vote there, it goes in the box there, it's counted there. Not shipped off somewhere else. Once you start shipping off and you start breaking the chain of custody, then you're screwing. You're just leaving more opportunities for cheating.
Yeah.
And that's just that's the crux of it. That's where we're at. We should be crying out loud for systemic change in our elections because it's just bad all over the place. Independent contractors and whatnot. We're trying to figure out in Washington, right? We did some work over there. I'm gonna do we did some Washington work over there, okay? And we're trying to figure out who has the contract for King County. Right? But you have to go through this whole process. You have to make a public request. They can't just tell you and give you the contract right away. We were very fortunate enough to see one of these contracts and see the power they get. And it's just wrong. And when you start kicking stuff out to third parties, please, you're opening up the door you're opening up a shit can of worms and you're asking for trouble. So our elections need to be fixed all across the board. even from the proprietary software and the tabulation machines, fam, which we like to talk about. There are so many ways. So, I mean, like I said, it's like a cartel out there, and they're just going to try to cheat each other.
Yep.
And we'll see what's what. I don't know. That's why I think that Joe Biden can win is only because he can cheat.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think
why.
if Joe Biden wins, it's massive cheating. I don't think he's apt to win. So,
and it's not the whole thought process that the Democrats cheat in the primary. And
I mean, it's usually like that.
No, the Republicans are cheating in their own primary. Dr. Shiva got cheated. He was a Republican. The establishment didn't want him in.
Yeah. But
and then they're going to cheat in both spots.
But it's more so the other way around. I mean, but they both
I don't believe
cheat.
that. I think they're going to cheat across the board.
Well, I think they are this time, but I think in general
board,
it usually happens more like that.
Yeah. I think the fact is that they've been out-cheated in the general by the Republicans. That's the problem. They're not going to get out-cheated anymore. They're going to try to out-cheat. So, and how can you fix an election when you already cheated the election for Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
How are you going to say that Trump's going to cheat the general election? You already cheated it. You did it in 2016. If you didn't cheat, we'd be sitting here with President Bernie Sanders right now, fam. And that's the bottom line. He would have won in 2016, hands down, going away.
100%.
The Democrats stopped that. They didn't stop Donald Trump on the right.
And Bernie stopped it himself. I mean, really.
And Bernie quit.
Bernie quit. So real quick, right now happening live is that there's a standoff between sheriffs and protesters in outside the sheriff's it's not pulling it up.
Where's his head?
This is Century City.
Fred Williams is another black man who got shot in the back.
Shot.
He got shot in the back. No,
Yep.
that was a few days ago.
Yep.
Southeast LA. Yeah, so they're there right now. They marched from where he got shot, I think, to that sheriff's station, and now the sheriffs are up there with their riot gear and stuff.
Of course. What about yesterday as well, too? Can you show a little bit from what you experienced yesterday? Kind of interesting in our backyard.
Just yesterday, they were protesting because there was a candlelight vigil where Anthony McClain, who also got shot in the back
in Pasadena
here, there was a candlelight vigil, and then the police took it down, and overnight, and then they stayed again overnight.
I don't know why Tornik's doing this shit.
He's saying that it's the community wants it down because it's distressing the community or something like that.
Oh,
That's
my
his excuse.
God.
Yeah, just watch the video. It's on the live streams. My work there. I did on the street there. And, you
in front of the courthouse, right?
Well, they marched to Tornik.
No,
City Hall, right?
Tornik's house.
Tornik's house.
He came out and talked to everybody.
He did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was Gordo marching with you?
No. Gordo was there that day, apparently, according to Jasmine, offering jobs to the poor, to the black kids there.
Interesting.
But yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go to the next protest or the next thing here.
All right, guys. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching.
Yep, you got it. For Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on the 1s and 2s.
Convo out. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Have a great Saturday morning.
Enjoy your mimosas.
Love ya.